Hi, this is your host Sapin Bhartia and welcome to your Let's Talk. And today we have with us Chinmay Soman, Head of Product at StarTree. Chinmay, it's great to have you on the show.
And thank you for having me, Sobhan. It's great to be here.
It's my pleasure to host you here. And we are going to talk about, you folks are announcing you're extending real-time analytics capabilities for observability and anomaly detection. But before we dive into this story, let's quickly start with some basics. First of all, tell us, what is StarTree all about? What do you folks do? What problem are you folks trying to solve?
So, in today's world, companies of all sizes need to provide real time insights to their customers and, of course, their internal users. So, for example, companies like Uber and LinkedIn provide insights to millions of their users. And this could be recommendations like what food item you want to order on Uber Eats, or what news article you want to read that's personalized for you. This could also be fraud detection or generating critical business metrics that will play a huge role in things like search pricing that Uber does. So StarTree is a cloud native real time analytics platform that makes it possible to develop all these powerful applications. It's built on top of an open source technology called Apache Pinot that came out of LinkedIn. And it provides a unique combination of executing extremely low latency and high throughput analytical queries on fresh data. So the platform enables to ingest data from wherever your data may be, whether it's clickstream data or data sitting in your warehouse or OLTP, bring that into the platform, and then you can build all kinds of user-facing applications or dashboards on top.
Can you talk about now what are you folks announcing?
The first thing we are announcing is our solution around observability. So observability has, in the recent times, has become increasingly more complex and critical for most businesses. So there's a huge amount of data generated in terms of the metrics, logs, and traces that you need to analyze in real time and then pinpoint issues. Recent examples include Cisco and Uber, who are analyzing terabytes to even petabytes of logs to identify issues with their mobile app crashes, or Cisco has a WebEx platform which needs real-time triaging of issues. And they're in fact using Pinot for these observability use cases and saving millions of dollars in the process. So we envision StarTree built on top of Pinot can store all this data in a cost-effective manner, and also connect to any of your favorite visualization tools, whether it's Grafana, Kibana, or Tableau. You can connect to Pinot and do any kind of analysis that you want. So idea is to provide the speed of Pinot, the cost efficiency of StarTree, and then the interoperability with any of the visualization tools to build a comprehensive solution. So this is, if you compare with the existing solutions in the market, most of them are vendor lock-in model. And so once the data is in, you can't do anything else with it. But the beauty of this approach, we are providing a disaggregated solution. So you can have your log analysis on Pinot, but you can also build powerful user-facing applications on the same data without needing to migrate it. The second thing we're announcing is the general availability of StarTree Third Eye, which is our anomaly detection and root cause analysis tool. This is where if, for example, if you're a company, you want to detect why are my page views suddenly dropped, or maybe there's a spike in the page views that you want to analyze. Traditional alerting systems don't really enable you to do this easily because they work on static thresholds, whereas StarTree Third Eye uses statistical algorithms to learn the variations and seasonality in data, and then they can accurately point out outliers based on what they've learned. So it's an advanced way of detecting business metric anomalies. And what's more, once you know there's an anomaly, it can also do automated root cause analysis. So for example, for page views, there could be several dimensions that affect the page view metric. This could be the type of device or geolocation or the version of the system or the software that you're using. Uh, StarTree Third Eye can go through all these combinations of dimensions and then pinpoint, because of these dimensions, you have a drop or a spike in your metric. Contrast this with your human analyst. If a human had to do this, they would take several hours or days to do it manually. So Third Eye is all about reducing the time and cost of doing this, both anomaly detection and RCA. So today, DoorDash is actually using StarTree Third Eye for triaging issues in their API platform in real time, which is in turn used by hundreds of their merchants for invoking the DoorDash API. And then we have two other announcements on the feature additions. Right, one is on the vector index. So Apache Pinot, we've recently added a vector index support to Apache Pinot. So now you can store your embeddings from words, images, or videos easily in Pinot, and be able to perform things like similarity search between these embeddings in a very fast manner. So essentially, it's turning it into a form of a scalable vector database. So you can imagine you can build all kinds of Gen AI applications on top of this, on top of Pinot, especially where the scale of embeddings and the scale of the search queries is very high. That's where the power of Pinot will shine. And lastly, we're announcing a new write API. So in the past, the way to get data into StarTree Cloud, the only way was to pull it from various sources like Apache Kafka, or if your data is sitting in S3 or Snowflake, we can pull the data. But now we're making it easy to simply push the data using a REST API. And this is useful in several cases where people are developing some application and they want to write directly to the database, or you have a ETL or ELT pipeline using Fivetran, or if you're doing data modeling using dbt. All of these systems, it'll be much easier if you can simply write to the database instead of writing to Kafka or S3 first. So this will save time for developers and data engineers, and also cost, because there's no more intermediate systems that you need to maintain.
Now I want to talk about, just look at these announcements that you folks made, and what are some of the pain points that you see that organizations face when it comes to either you're looking at advanced observability or all the analytics tools. I mean, we are seeing vendor is probably there, a lot of tools are coming, but what are the pain points they feel or face when it comes to kind of integrating these tools into their own workflow, and how is StarTree kind of trying to address that challenge?
Yeah, great question. So some of the pain points, as I mentioned before, there are existing solutions that lock in the data, right? So you send the data to that particular vendor. You cannot do anything else on that data. You'll have to duplicate the data pipeline to do other analytics on the same data sets. So that's one. There are issues with network transfer cost. So many of these vendors are SaaS based applications. So you have to send the data out of your network of VPC into the vendor's VPC or network, right? And that will incur additional cloud network costs. And then overall, the scalability and the speed of some of these solutions are also limited. So with StarTree, we're solving these fundamental problems, right? One is providing a disaggregated platform. So data can come in from anywhere, from any of the collection agents or systems like Kafka, and also you can connect any tool of your choice. You're not forced to choose the thing that the vendor supplies. So if your organization uses Tableau, you can use Tableau. Or if you are a Grafana based company, you can actually use Grafana to do all kinds of things like metrics and log search on Pinot. So it gives you the flexibility. You can pick and choose what makes sense for your organization. And then marry that with what we have, a unique deployment model, which is called BYOC, or bring your own cloud, where we are able to deploy our software in the customer's cloud account. So data never leaves their governance boundary. So we're reducing the network transfer cost as well. And finally, we also have a cloud tiered storage model where you can historical data, you can save it outside of StarTree in a cheaper object store like S3, where you're paying very little money for saving a lot of historical data, and only the fresh data can be saved in StarTree. And StarTree enables you to query all of this data seamlessly without having to any external system to federate. So if you combine all three properties, right, the speed that you get from StarTree, which is differentiated already, with the low cost efficiency and BYOC model, this becomes a compelling solution for many companies to adopt for their observability stack.
And now look at the other aspect. One was also the launch of Third Eye for real-time anomaly detection. Talk about once again, how is it making users' lives easier?
The example that I mentioned, right, page views, that was a real example from LinkedIn, where suddenly at some point the LinkedIn page views were down. And there was a team of data engineers and scientists trying to figure it out why. And it took, if I remember, it took them about 3 days to go through various combinations, right? They have to execute a query, see the results, try to do some guesswork on which dimension caused this thing to go down. And it turned out there was some issue with an Android device that was caused. That was the root cause. That was most of the page views from Android were falling, right? With Third Eye, that's what we're aiming to do. We people don't have to spend hours or days to figure this out. This should be done within seconds. That's our goal. And you don't need a large army of data scientists to figure these things out, right? So the goal is you can simply put your time series data, whether it's clickstream or logs or metrics, into StarTree, and then use Third Eye to first define the anomalies that you're interested in, and then also be able to do root cause analysis very, very quickly. So it's all about providing that automation and intelligence that's missing today from traditional solutions.
Another thing that you talked about was the introduction of StarTree's Cloud Write API for real-time sync with data systems. Talk a bit about what impact it will have on users in terms of data integration and processing efficiencies.
It's actually it's going to unlock a pretty sort of a wide range of use cases in terms of building data pipelines with StarTree. As I mentioned, the way people were using StarTree before were put their data in something like Apache Kafka or in S3, like store it in one place, and then let StarTree pull that data from these intermediate systems. This is fine for many of the big companies and enterprises, right? But most of the SMBs, this will become pretty expensive, both in terms of the cost of the additional infrastructure as well, but also in terms of operational overhead. There are too many moving parts now in the system. So now with Write API, you can get rid of this intermediate system. You can think of making it'll look similar to your traditional MySQL or Postgres database, where you're simply making a call to write some data into the database. We are bringing it closer to the traditional database semantics and making it much easier to integrate for any kind of data pipeline with StarTree. And the ETL ELT will be much more simple and cost effective. The other missing piece was data modeling, right? So if you have a table in a data set in StarTree and you want to build a derived data set, this was a little bit of a friction for users before. Now you can imagine using DBT directly with StarTree Cloud. You can build derived tables in StarTree without needing any external component, which will also make life easy for data engineers. So we do anticipate this will increase the ease of getting started and also overall developer velocity. So overall time to value will be reduced.
As you're earlier talking about that the foundation of StarTree is Apache Pinot project, talk a bit about your involvement with the project, how you're contributing to the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been from day one. Our philosophy was the commitment to the open source community. That's always been our philosophy. So when we think about adding new features, we do make sure we add the things that are going to benefit the community. The community comes first before StarTree. So an example would be multi-state joins. So in the first edition of Pinot, when it initially came out, it did not support running join queries. So if you have two data sets in Pinot, you had to use something like Presto or Trino to do the join operation. So there was a pretty big friction. And then StarTree took a leading role to provide a native join capability within Pinot, and that itself is pretty differentiated, right? If you compare with the similar other technology like Druid and ClickHouse, the join is actually stands out in terms of it's more scalable and high performance. And this was contributed directly to open source. This is not a proprietary feature in StarTree Cloud. So this is an example of do the right thing for the community, because most of the people needed this feature. So anything that will benefit the community, we do plan to keep contributing it back to open source. And the another such example is the vector index that I spoke about. Right, this is again something we see that a lot of people will be asking for this. So we have done the initial check-ins already for things like HNSW algorithm for similarity search. So you can get started with building Gen AI applications on Pinot today, and we will plan to keep extending this feature in the open source. So as I said, right, we are committed to making Apache Pinot successful in including in the future plans.
Chinmay, thank you so much for taking time out today, and of course talk about StarTree and these new announcements and how it's kind of helping customers. And your thanks for all those great insights. And I look forward to talk to you folks again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. Thank you. Take care.